In this tutorial, I will start using one of the examples that are posted online. It's the example called explicit limit state function. And this file looks like this. There are random variables defined. There are correlation coefficients. There's a function that we will focus on in this first tutorial on this using this file here. And there are a number of analysis tools. I'm going to use this example by dragging this file into ART. Of course, another way to create all these objects will be to right-click here in the Properties pane, but in this case, by opening the file, I have created all my random variables, and in particular, I'd like to focus on this function. So if I now look at the expression for this function, it has 1 minus a couple of terms here that are dependent on the random variables, the 3 random variables. So what I'd like to do now first is to alter the expression slightly by putting a parenthesis on around these 2 terms that contain the random variables, because I'd like to study the sort of probability density function or the frequency diagram for this particular expression. So to do that, I'm going to make use of sampling algorithm. So I go to my analysis methods, and I look here and I see that I have 2 accumulators to accumulate the sampling points as the sampling analysis goes on. There's a failure probability accumulator, and then there's a histogram accumulator, and that is the one that I would like to make use of right now. I observe that there are 100,000 samples entered in here, but I can change that during runtime. And another thing I'd like to point out is here in the analyzer objects, namely the orchestrating algorithms. I have a form algorithm. I also have a sampling analysis algorithm, so that's the algorithm that will orchestrate the analysis. And I noticed that the accumulator here is set to be the failure probability accumulator. I'd like to choose the histogram accumulator for now because it's that frequency diagram or histogram that I'd like to draw for that expression that we just looked at. So having set the analysis tools properly, I go to Analysis and Run Analysis, and I select the sampling analysis as the orchestrating algorithm, and I press OK. So now we see here the red line, and the analysis keeps going here. That's why the graph is changing as we speak here. But the red line is that frequency diagram that shows sort of the PDF, if you wish, the probability density function for that expression. The blue line is the corresponding CDF, and this black line that you see on the side here shows the coefficient of variation, namely your confidence in the sampling result. And as you go further out in the tail, your coefficient of variation goes up, namely your confidence in the probability out in the tail goes down. So here I let the analysis run. I didn't go to the histogram accumulator to change the number of samples, because here now the analysis was able to carry out 100,000 samples, and this red line is the probability density function that I looked at. We observe here that there's some probability of exceeding 1, and that probability is what we are going to try to estimate in the next tutorials.